They say danger doesn't always wear a warning sign. Sometimes it just rolls up in a quiet neighborhood, behind tinted windows, asking casual questions with not-so-casual intentions. This is the story of one teenage girl, a walk home, and a moment that changed everything on her block. It started with a laugh, but it ended with silence. And in between, power, truth, and the kind of courage most grown folks don't even know they have. Tamara James was about 10 minutes from home. Her backpack hung lazily over one shoulder, a light hoodie tied around her waist, and she sipped the last of a peach snap tea she'd bought from the corner store on East Driftwood Avenue in a quiet town called Birch Hollow. It was one of those perfect Saturdays, mild breeze, mid-70s, sunny skies. Kids zipped around on bikes, dogs barked from fenced-in yards, lawnmowers hummed in the distance. Everything felt normal until it didn't. As Tamara turned onto her street, the crunch of slow-moving tires caught her attention. A sheriff's cruiser from Camden County edged up behind her, creeping along at her pace. She didn't have to look. She already knew. Not again. The window lowered with a smooth mechanical whir. "You live around here?" the deputy asked. He was white, maybe early 40s, square-jawed with a buzz cut and aviator sunglasses. His voice was casual. Too casual, like he was trying to play it cool, but the air between them already knew different. "Yeah," Tamara said, still walking. "Just up the block." "You mind telling me what you're doing out here?" She turned her head slightly but didn't stop moving. "Walking home from my best friend's place. She lives 2 streets over." That wasn't suspicious. That was Saturday. The cruiser crept ahead of her, then angled slightly, cutting off her path. She stopped. Her sneakers scraped lightly on the concrete. "There have been reports of some suspicious activity around here today," he said, stepping out slowly. "You match the description." Tamara blinked. "What description?" "Teenage girl, hoodie, backpack." She let out a short, dry laugh. "You just described like half the kids on this street." He didn't laugh. "You got any ID on you?" "I'm 14, she replied, eyebrows raised. He looked her up and down. "You sure about that?" Tamara stood straighter. Her voice sharpened. "What would I lie for?" "I live right there," she pointed. "Number 908 East Driftwood. My dad's Master Sergeant Leon James, U.S. Special Forces." The deputy tilted his head, smirking. "Special Forces, huh?" "Yep." "That's cute," he said, brushing dust off his badge. "You kids been watching too many movies." Her jaw tightened. She was used to being doubted. Teachers, store clerks, random adults who always assumed she didn't quite belong. But this smile, the one on this deputy's face, wasn't just disbelief, it was amusement, like her story was a joke, and he planned to keep laughing. "What's your name?" he asked, suddenly serious. "Tamara James." "You got anything in that bag I should be concerned about?" "Sure," she said. "A notebook, phone charger, and 2 stale granola bars." She didn't move. "You can check it when my dad gets here." His eyebrows lifted. "So he's on the way?" "Yes." And it wasn't a bluff. She had already texted him when the cruiser first pulled up. No emojis, no panic, just facts. "Deputy stopped me, I'm on Driftwood." His reply came fast. "Be there soon." She just had to wait. A screen door creaked open across the street. Ms. Ramirez, who everyone knew swept her porch like clockwork 3 times a day, stood still with a broom in hand. "You good, Tamara?" she called. Tamara nodded quickly. "I'm fine." But her voice cracked just a little. The deputy, whose name tag now read Officer Connolly, turned his head toward Ms. Ramirez but didn't say a word. Next, a kid on a scooter rolled by, slowing down. Two others playing tag froze mid-chase, watching. People were starting to notice. Phones came out. A camera clicked. Still, Officer Connolly didn't back off. He didn't raise his voice, didn't bark orders, but he also didn't move. Tamara locked eyes with him. "You'll see, he's coming." But she could tell. This wasn't about a report anymore. It was about power. And Officer Connolly wasn't ready to let go of it. He stepped a little closer. Arms relaxed, voice calm. But something in his tone made the air feel thinner. "You say your dad's special forces?" he said, eyeing her backpack like it might explode. "What kind of special forces?" Tamara's eyebrows rose. "How would I know? I'm not in the army." He gave a laugh that wasn't really a laugh. "Right, but you're quick to throw that around like you know what it means." "I do," she said. "It means he's trained to protect people like me, even from people like you." That landed. Connolly shifted his stance. He scanned the growing group gathering across the sidewalks. Curious, quiet, filming. "I'm just doing my job," he said, louder now. "If someone calls in suspicious activity, I'm required to check it out." Tamara didn't blink. "And what exactly did I do that was suspicious?" "You match the description." "You mean I'm a black girl with a backpack?" He hesitated. "I didn't say that." "You didn't have to." Across the street, an older man with a silver beard was recording with his phone. He leaned over and said something to the woman beside him, who shook her head slowly. A teenage girl whispered to her friend, "That's Tamara James. She lives right there." Tamara heard it too, and she raised her voice just enough to carry. "Everyone here knows me. That's my house." She pointed again. Officer Connolly didn't look. Instead, he reached for his radio. "Unit 241 on a 1029, he said into the mic. "Juvenile, named Tamara James. Claims residence at 908 East Driftwood." Tamara exhaled hard. "You're seriously calling backup on me?" "Standard procedure," he said, still avoiding eye contact. Ms. Ramirez shook her head. "That child doesn't lie," she said firmly. "And her daddy is exactly who she says he is." Connolly didn't answer. He was too busy pretending he hadn't heard her. The silence was thick now, not empty silence, but that sharp, weighted kind, the kind that comes right before a storm breaks. Tamara stood her ground. She didn't run. She didn't shout. "You can wait here all you want," she said, staring him down. "But when he gets here, you're going to have to explain this, to him and to everybody watching." Connolly leaned against the hood of his car like he was still in control. "I'm not looking for trouble. Just a routine check." "You already caused trouble," she said. "And I hope you remember that when my father shows up." The neighborhood wasn't quiet anymore. If anything, more eyes began to gather. A boy with a basketball stopped bouncing it and leaned against the gate. A woman, walking her terrier, paused at the corner, eyes narrowed toward the cruiser. And then the lights on the squad car flicked on, red and blue, flashing. Not sirens, just the silent kind of warning. Tamara's phone buzzed once in her hand, a single word. "Close." She didn't smile. She didn't even move. She just looked Connolly dead in the eye and said calmly, "You've got about 30 seconds to start acting like you've got some sense." Connolly's smirk faltered. His hand drifted, not grabbing, but hovering near his holster, like a reminder, not to her, to everyone watching. The air around them shifted again, not louder, heavier. "Listen, I'm not trying to escalate anything," he muttered. "We're just having a conversation, right?" Tamara tilted her head. "Is that what this is?" But before he could respond, a low, steady engine hum began to roll down the street. Not fast, not dramatic, just sure. A black SUV crept into view, slow and focused like it had nothing to prove, because it didn't have to. Neighbors turned their heads, phones lifted higher. Even the wind seemed to hush. The engine cut off. The door opened. Out stepped Master Sergeant Leon James. No badge, no uniform, just dark jeans, a gray t-shirt, and boots that looked like they'd been places maps can't pronounce. 6 feet 3 inches, shoulders squared, eyes calm but scanning. He shut the door with one hand and walked toward them. Not rushing, not performing, just present. Officer Connolly straightened up slightly. It was small, but noticeable. He tugged his belt like he remembered someone might be watching. Tamara didn't move. Leon stopped beside his daughter, putting one hand gently on her shoulder. "You good?" he asked. She nodded. "I'm good." Still facing forward. Now Leon turned to the deputy. "So this," he said slowly, deliberately, "is why you're holding my daughter up? In front of her own home?" Connolly opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. "Sir, I'm conducting a standard field check. We had a report." "A report of what?" Leon interrupted. "A kid walking home with a bottle of snap tea and a phone low on battery?" Connolly cleared his throat. She matched a description from a call we received about suspicious behavior. Leon stepped a little closer. In broad daylight, in her own neighborhood, surrounded by people who know her name. "I didn't know that at the time, sir. Did you ask?" Leon asked flatly. The silence answered for him. Leon didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. Each word landed like a weight, heavy and clear. "I've served this country for 18 years, multiple tours, buried brothers overseas, and I come home to protect the same streets my daughter's now being stopped on, like she doesn't belong." "It wasn't personal," Connolly said, now shifting on his feet. "I was just doing my job." "No," Leon said sharply. "You were following your assumptions. Don't dress it up." Across the sidewalk, Ms. Ramirez stepped forward again. "She told you who she was, told you where she lived, and you laughed at her." Connolly looked down. A teenager in the crowd muttered loud enough to hear. "She said her dad was in special forces." He acted like she made it up. Leon turned toward the group forming behind him, then back to Connolly. "Did she lie?" A pause. Connolly shook his head slowly. "No, sir." Tamara lifted her chin. "Told you he was coming." But Leon James wasn't finished. He looked Officer Connolly straight in the eyes. "You ever stop another teenage girl in a neighborhood like this again, I want you to remember her face. Mine. And all the cameras pointed your way." Connolly swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." A long pause. Tamara looked up at her father. "Can we go home now?" Leon nodded. They turned, walking side by side, but they hadn't made it 5 steps before Leon stopped. Not because he had second thoughts, but because he was a father. And sometimes being a father means knowing when a message needs to be said loud enough that the whole street hears it. He turned back around. "Actually," he called out. Tamara paused beside him, curious, but she didn't speak. She didn't need to. Connolly didn't move, still standing by the cruiser, still pretending he was in control. "You know what the worst part of this is?" Leon asked. Connolly didn't answer. "It's not the stop, not even the disrespect." He took a step forward, steady and clear. "It's that you looked at a 14-year-old girl, calm, collected, honest, and decided she couldn't possibly be telling the truth, that she wasn't worth believing. You didn't see her. You saw a problem." "I didn't mean it like that," Connolly muttered. "But that is what you did," Leon replied. "And that's the difference between being a protector and being a threat." Across the sidewalk it was quiet again, but not because of fear. Everyone was listening. Tamara stepped forward. Her voice didn't tremble. It didn't rise. It just carried. "You don't understand what it feels like," she said, "to have someone decide who you are before you even open your mouth. You don't understand what it's like to stay calm, stay respectful, stay safe, even when you're the one being cornered." Connolly didn't look away. He didn't dismiss her like before. She kept going. "You don't know what it's like to wonder if someone's going to believe you, or just assume you're trouble." She stepped closer. "And if my dad hadn't shown up when he did, if he wasn't who he is, maybe you would have kept pushing. Maybe worse." Someone in the crowd whispered, "Say that." Tamara looked straight at the officer. "You're lucky he came, not just because he's military, but because he's patient, because he knows how to speak before acting." She paused. If it had been someone else, this could have gone very differently. Leon stood behind her, silent but strong, a symbol not just of power but of presence. And Connolly, he didn't respond. Not right away. What was he supposed to say? That he misread the situation, that he acted on fear instead of facts? He didn't need to answer, because the truth was already circling him, voiced by a neighborhood that was no longer willing to stay silent. From a front porch, Mr. Atwood, gray hair, fishing cap, 30-year resident, spoke up. "She's not the first kid you've stopped like this. You just picked the wrong one this time, one who had someone show up. But we've been watching too." Another voice called out from further back. "I saw you stop Malik last week. Said it was a busted taillight. It wasn't." Officer Connolly looked down at his shoes. No badge could cover that weight now. Leon took a breath, then looked up. "You can't undo what just happened, but you can ask yourself why it keeps happening. You don't fix things by pretending they don't exist." Connolly's voice was lower now. "I'll think about what you said." "You should," Leon answered, "because next time someone else might show up angry, and it won't end this quietly." Leon turned back to Tamara. "You ready now?" She nodded. This time, they walked without interruption. But something had changed. The silence behind them wasn't cold or afraid. It was something else. It was respect. And it followed them all the way down the block. They didn't say much at first. Tamara's shoulders finally loosened. Her steps, once cautious, now moved with purpose. They turned the corner just out of view of the crowd. Only then did Leon speak. "You handled that better than a lot of grown folks I know." Tamara gave a small nod. "Felt like I had to." Leon looked at her sideways. "You didn't just have to. You chose to. You could have panicked. You could have yelled. But you stood your ground. She paused. "I didn't want him to win." Leon gave the faintest smile. "He didn't. But this isn't a game, Tamara. This is life. And sometimes, no matter how polite you are, how calm you stay, how right you are, some people will still only see what they expect to see." Tamara looked down at her sneakers. "That's what makes me mad. I didn't do anything. I was just walking." "I know," Leon said, "and that's what makes me tired." They walked a few steps in silence. Then she said quietly, "I was scared." Leon stopped. Not scared of him, just scared I'd say the wrong thing, or move wrong, or make it worse. "You did everything right," Leon replied. "And even if you hadn't, what he did still wouldn't be okay." She nodded slowly. Then her voice dropped again. "You think he'll actually change?" They were almost home now. The yard decorations on their lawn came into view. Wind chimes, a cracked garden gnome, a purple welcome mat. Leon stopped walking. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But I do know he heard you. And sometimes, and that's the first crack in the wall." From behind them, the quiet of neighborhood life began to creep back in. Bikes rolling again, kids calling across yards, sprinklers ticking, a car driving by slowly, like nothing had happened. But something had. As they reached their porch, Miss Ramirez called from across the street. "Leon?" He turned. "Thank you, both of you." Tamara gave a tiny wave. Just as they reached the front door, a young woman, mid-20s, red braids, basketball jersey, walked up, phone still in hand. "Hey," she said, almost shy. "I just wanted to say, your daughter? She's a whole legend." Tamara blinked. "Me?" The woman nodded. "The way you stood there, spoke truth to his face? No fear, that was powerful." Tamara blushed just a little. "Thanks." They stepped inside. The air conditioning hit like a gentle wave. Tamara dropped her bag on the couch and sat down. Leon paused in the doorway, watching her. "You want me to make you something? Sandwich? Cereal?" She shook her head. "Can I just sit here? Of course." He sat beside her, didn't talk, just sat. Sometimes strength doesn't need to speak. The house was quiet, not tense, not scared, just still. Tamara curled up on the couch. Hoodie back on, arms tucked. Her phone screen still lit, but she wasn't texting. She glanced at her dad. "You think this stuff ever stops?" Leon leaned back. "Eventually, but not all at once. Not for everyone. It stops in pieces, one person at a time, one choice at a time." Tamara sighed. "Feels like it's always gonna be me, explaining myself to people who already made up their minds." Leon nodded slowly. "I know, but don't ever get tired of being you. Because you scare people who are too small to understand you. And that's not your fault. That's their work to do." A knock came at the door. Leon stood and peeked through the curtain. It was Mr. Atwood. Fishing cap still on. 2 cans of soda in hand. "Thought y'all might need something cold," he said. Leon took them, smiling. "Appreciate that." Mr. Atwood lingered. "I was watching today," he said quietly, "and I kept thinking, I never had to worry about that kind of thing when I was her age. Not like this." Tamara had stood up now, listening. "What you did took backbone," Mr. Atwood told her. "Don't let anyone make you feel small for standing tall." She gave a soft thank you and took one of the sodas. He tipped his cap and left. Leon looked at her. "You ready to go upstairs?" "In a minute." They sat again, this time closer. Tamara leaned her head on his shoulder. "He really didn't believe me at all, did he?" "Nope. But you made him listen, and you made a whole street listen." Tamara smiled faintly. "I think I scared him." Leon chuckled. "Good, keep doing that." And outside, life kept going. Lawns were watered, birds chirped, cars passed by like nothing had changed. But on that street, among those people, something had. Tamara James wasn't just the girl in the hoodie anymore. She was the girl who didn't flinch, who told the truth when no one wanted to hear it. And her father, he didn't have to wear his medals. He wore his strength in how he raised her. And in the silence that followed, a new kind of respect took root. Before you go, what would you have done if you were in Tamara's place? Have you ever witnessed or experienced a moment like this in your own neighborhood? Do you think stories like this can truly spark change, or do we still have a long way to go? If this story made you think or feel something, please hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories. Your support helps these voices be heard, and you never know who might need that message today. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. Thank you for watching.